For more than 20 years, Birney Imes, who grew up in Columbus, Mississippi, he roamed the countryside, doing what some of us just dream about doing, photographing people and places, and publishing some great books, Juke Joint, Whispering Pines, what's the other one? Partial to Home. And when I see those books, they're just great. And I'm grateful that he did that and left that kind of legacy for Mississippi. He's a graduate of with a degree in history from the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. And you've probably just heard of him when Mississippi talks about the blues. Birney Imes' name always comes up. But he's not here today to talk about his work. He is here to talk about the work of this photographer and friend, Axel Kunstler, who is a German man. And when you read about how he came here and just kind of ping pong from different places, I guess he knew where he was going, but when you read some of the articles, you just think, well, how in the world did he make it? So he's going to tell you some of those stories today. We thank you that you could come, and please welcome Birney Imes.
I got married 50 years ago this year, 1976. I'd been working at the newspaper, our family newspaper in Columbus, as a photographer. Up until then, my wife was teaching art in Slidell, Louisiana. So the first 6 months or so of our marriage, we lived in Slidell. And while we were there, we got in the habit of going to the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. And I would photograph, and pretty soon I found out if I would give them prints, they would give me backstage passes. And so I could roam. I was a free-range chicken on the fairgrounds down there. And in 1978, I was photographing down there, and everywhere I went, there was this obnoxious German that we elbowed each other trying to get in position to take a picture. And this was in 1978. And just throughout that weekend, we just kind of, and we may have exchanged some words, but not harsh words, but just we were both trying to get that picture, that perfect picture. Well, about 3 weeks later, I get a call from a friend, and this same German is in Crawford, Mississippi, living with Big Joe Williams. And they were going to take Big Joe over to Holt, Alabama to meet Johnny Shines, who was kind of a blues legend. Asked me if I wanted to go, and I went. And there I met Axel Kunstler, formally, and we became friends and and remain close friends to this day. Axel has quite a story. I think even as a child, I think he was infatuated with the blues. I don't think we realize how powerful the blues resonates with Europeans, but they sure did with Axel. And he had the gumption to I think he was 16 when he came to America for his first time, and he went to California to stay with a family friend and looked up some blues people that he had met who were touring in Europe. And, he was just audacious. In 78, he came back to Mississippi. He ended up living with Big Joe Williams, who was kind of a blues legend, who lived in Crawford, near Columbus. And we crossed paths and got to know one another, during his stay with Big Joe. Axel was working as a postal worker in Germany, and was a part-time postal worker, and they had vast amounts of vacation. So over his blues, researching, if you want to call it, career, he made over 30 trips here to the States to photograph, to visit and kind of seek out the blues. In 1980, Axel and a friend named Ziggy Chrisman came over and did some field recordings and created a wonderful series. I think it's a 13 or 14 album. We were Y'all remember these, don't you? It's L&R Country Blues. They did field recordings of these obscure bluesmen, most of them you've never heard of. And Axel did the photography, and he and Ziggy together did the recording. And the photographs that are on these LPs, a lot of them are around the wall, on the wall here. And I've traveled with them some during that period. I think when they recorded Son Thomas, maybe. But Axel had located all these obscure bluesmen that really had never traveled to Europe and really were, just not exactly household names. They weren't like a B.B. King or a John Lee Hooker or someone that, everyone knows about. And Axel, over the years, would come back and revisit these bluesmen and befriend them and stay with them sometimes. And a lot of people have photographed the blues, or a lot of people have attempted to photograph the blues, but what's unique about Axel, and what I think these pictures reveal, is he had a very close, warm, personal relationship with a lot of these musicians, and with a lot of these musicians, and it shows in the photographs. And I would travel with him, and I was photographing at the same time, though in a different way. And a lot of my photographs are people that Axel I would never have known about, situations I never would have been in without Axel. And we like I said, we traveled down to Tougaloo, and we went to West Virginia together to look at this crazy rockabilly musician in Madison, West Virginia, named Hazel Atkins. But over time, Axel became a member of the family. He came over first to use Trailways Greyhound and Trailways bus as his transportation. Then he bought his Volkswagen station wagon, and then I found him an old beater of a Chevrolet. It was a Chevrolet wagon, and he had every bumper sticker known to man, I think, plastered on the back of that Chevrolet, and he would roam around the country. We call it the Axel Mobile. I think my wife used it to pick up the kids one day at school, and they really just slumped down in the seats. I mean, the cloth had turned loose on the ceiling, and it was plastered with bumper stickers, and the Axel Mobile was not a hit with the kids, but Axel was a hit with the kids, and actually 2 of my children have stayed with him in Germany, and he would teach them all these crazy phrases in German, and they just, he was just like a family member, and he had a network of people in this country. He's kind of a hermit, a recluse in Germany, but in America he's got friends everywhere. He stays with people, and he's just a delightful character. And he has I think he had, I don't know if he's on the spectrum or not, but he has this memory that is scary. I mean, he'll call me and say, "Do you know what we were doing 23 years ago today?" And I said, "No, Axel." He said, "Well, that's the day we took Big Joe over to see Johnny Shines at Holt Alabama, or that's the day we did this or that." And so, we've just become really close and corresponded. And then in 2013, he had an exhibit of this work at America House in Munich. America House is kind of an American goodwill sort of gesture, I guess. I'm not that familiar, but they do exhibits, and Axel's work was on display, and I went over for that. And we traveled a little in Germany together and decided, well, let's travel in Europe. And so over the next 4 or 5 years, we traveled together. And those weren't photographic related journeys or not, but Yeah, when he came over with 16 years, when he was 16 years ago, he had a point and shoot plastic camera, and he had a family friend in Yorba Linda, California, and that was kind of his first American blues experience. And he's just done. He collects old 78s, and it's very fun. It's highly unusual. Everywhere we travel together, he would ask people about 78s. We're in Istanbul, Turkey, and he's asking people, where can I find some 78? And by and large, lo and behold, we did find some in Istanbul and Fez, Morocco too. And Axel he didn't buy the ones in Istanbul, and he was moaning about it the other day when I called. He said, I really wish I'd have gotten those 78s in Istanbul. But his house, his apartment is just, you can barely move in there for the books and the records and the photographs. But and I've stayed with him in Germany. But we've kind of maintained this friendship over the years, and that kind of began this way, but kind of went beyond photography and beyond blues. I'd feel real good if somebody would ask me a question.
Well, I want to know what happened when you went to the crazy Hazel Atkins.
Being beyond blues. I'd feel real good if somebody would ask me a question.
Well, I want to know what happened when you went to the crazy Hazel Atkins.
Hazel Atkins was a guy that lived in a place, a little shack, tar paper shack on this creek in West Virginia. And most of the people that we ran into in West Virginia were either drinking homebrew or coal mining, And so Hazel was just this wild musician that played all the instruments at one time and lived in this shack that had photographs plastered everywhere. They're not in this show. I don't know if Axel's ever exhibited any of it, but he accepted us, and we stayed 2 or 3 days with Hazel. But
and he's rockabilly.
He's a rockabilly, and he's kind of a legend himself, to rockabilly aficionados. But but
how difficult was it for a German to befriend these people?
His English is fabulous. I've got a sister-in-law that's German, and she really laughs about Axel. He said his German is very formal and precise, and he speaks like a southern redneck in English. But I think most of these musicians are used to being approached and open, and I think could sense his genuine enthusiasm for them. And he would go back, and he had relationships, and he would stay with some of these guys. So.
Well, I wonder how in 1978 he even knew they existed. We didn't have the internet, and so what was?
Yeah.
How was that?
The people, the L&R Records was funded by a couple of guys that owned hotels, kind of businessmen at hotels, and they did a series of living blues concerts throughout Europe. So there was a fairly active blues scene, club. they weren't stadiums, but they were clubs and small venues. And so if you were a blues blues fan, you knew about these things, and there was a network of people that loved the blues, and I think Axel got to know every chance he got to know these guys that were touring. Most of these guys you'll see here were not touring. They were just obscure. They had maybe had careers, a lifetime earlier, and Axel just knew about them. He just has an amazing knowledge of these obscure country bluesmen, and these records beautifully capture that and preserve a lot of their music, which otherwise would have been lost.
Were you with him during these photographs?
Some of them, Big Joe Williams, I was with him. I don't know if I was with him with some, but a good number of them, and we covered the same ground together. But yeah, there's one from near Tuskegee I told you about that I was with him.
How many different states I haven't had a chance to look at all of them. How many, is it mostly Mississippi or Alabama?
Mostly Mississippi, Alabama, but he went up the Atlantic seaboard some. There's some North Carolina, and then this Flora Moulton, she's a street musician in D.C. Cora Fluker was in Marion, Mississippi. This fellow was in Tuskegee. I was with him then. This is Big Joe. This is Furry Lewis, who's pretty well known. But most of these guys, you don't know.
Well, you said he came with a point and shoot camera. I know this wasn't
No,
that.
no.
What was this? What did he use?
I quizzed him about this for this actual talk. After he got out of high school, he wasn't academically oriented, and he went to an industrial school in a photography program, and he really didn't like it. He didn't like the town where it was, and I think his father gave him a 35 millimeter camera, and I think when he graduated from high school, he got a Canon F1, which is a really nice film camera. It's 35 millimeter. So that's what he did most of his work with a Canon SLR.
Is that what you did your work with?
Oh no, I used different cameras, but a lot of them were with a view camera. A view camera's you've seen the old movies where the people get up under. It has a big negative, and so that's what a lot of the juke joint pictures were with a view camera, 4x5.
Do your own darkroom work?
Yeah, I sometimes had help. Sometimes color printing. I did color printing, but I've worked with other printers. But all of my black and white work. These were printed by a printer who prints for a friend in New Orleans. These were all done in New Orleans. I'm friends with the folks that do the Black Prairie Blues Museum, who are doing, like you guys are, doing a wonderful job keeping that museum vibrant. And I just mentioned one day, I said, Deborah, I've got a friend, he'd be a great exhibit, perfect for the museum, and you could circulate the show. And they said yes. And so we created the show and had a really nice event, and had Scott Beretta and Axel and some other blues scholars all converged on West Point. We had a really nice evening. And Axel was treated like a king, and he liked that real well. And as long as I'd take him swimming every day, he had to go swimming the 10 Tom every day. Nobody else swims in the 10 Tom, but he has his swimming regimen. When the weather's good, he's swimming daily. So he loved West Point. We did the show, and the plan was to circulate it. And the plan seems to be happening here. So.
That's good. Well, Birney, I know you're talking about this fellow, but in your book, Juke Joint, you do those photographs with the movement
Right.
that I just love. How's that done?
Well, I wasn't going to try to talk about me, but I did I would photograph, I'd roam around in the Delta, and I would also often photograph in juke joints. And I just, at some point, came to see them as just subjects themselves. They were fantastical kind of places, the way they were decorated and kind of the life that went on there. So I photographed them with a large format camera, a view camera, and they were long exposures because the light was dim, and you just required a long exposure. And so the movement was just, if you're not holding still, you're going to be blurred. And I just liked that it kind of animated the photographs, and it kind of provided an element of chance. So some of those exposures are 20 seconds long. The camera's on a tripod, so the walls, the fixtures, everything that's not moving is sharp, but the guy shooting pool is blurred. And so you just didn't know what you were going to do, but it was just something that I kind of left to chance.
So if you were starting, or Axel was starting today, if y'all were looking for this thread, where would you go and what would you say?
Oh, gosh. Over the years, I've had so many people call me, contact me. They want to come see juke joints. They want to come, visit this world, that is no more. And one woman emailed me from California and said, I couldn't get anybody to respond. I don't know if she was thinking these places had printed brochures or what. But she said, I couldn't get anybody to respond. I don't know when they're open or, how it works. And, I said, well, you just got to come and go look around. And I've had movie art directors, just all manner of people have used the book for different things, but I'm meeting a guy later this month. He's an architecture student from MIT, and he's coming to Mississippi because of juke joint, and he's wanting to look at that architecturally. I don't know how that fits into anything, but he's coming to Mississippi, and I hope he can find something because most of these places are in these Delta towns that, I don't know if y'all have driven around the Delta, but a lot of them are just slowly disintegrating into nothing. And a lot of those places were places I photographed and places where these folks that Axel photographed lived. So.
What is Axel doing now these days?
Right now, he's grousing just about life in general. He drives about 6 or 8 school kids in a van to school every morning, and they kind of keep him sane, I think. He's ever on the look for 78 records, but he loved being in West Point. Of course, they treated him like royalty there, and he just loved being here. And he has a whole network of people that he stays with, and friends are here. And in Germany, he's somewhat isolated. So he's not working at the post office anymore. I mean, he's 70, or he'll be 70 this year. So he's virtually retired, I guess.
Are there any YouTube videos, any interviews of Axel available?
There's a lot out there.
I'd love to hear that accent.
Yeah. There's a guy in Rochester, New York that does a highly regarded blues program. I think it's called Big Road Blues. I'm not sure, but if you did blues radio program, Rochester, New York, and he's done extensive programs with Axel. I mean, Axel's done many programs with him, and he's played this music. And as far as YouTube, I doubt it. I mean, these were mostly taken in the 80s, I would say, late 70s, in the 80s before.
Yeah, I just like to hear Axel's accent.
Right. Well, he's interviewed, and I'm sure he's interviewed extensively in this, I know in this, but you could probably Google him and find something.
Is
His
he-
English is magnificent, though.
Is he a musician as well?
Not really. He's a wonderful cartoonist, and he plays a harmonica some, but, you know. But he's a remarkable person in a lot of ways. He just, in the right environment, he's a ball of fire.
So back to my other question about this, this style and these kinds of people that are, I don't know how to describe them, but they are no more.
I would say probably, that's probably accurate. I mean, there may be, these were people that lived the life and played the music and kind of a part, you know, all of that, I think, not that I'm any musical expert, but I think most of the blues you hear now is derivative, and maybe derivative of you know, this derivative several times over. And so I don't think this lifestyle or this type, you know, this type music is being made now. And I'd love to pass these around. I don't know if that's practical or not, but you know, can just look at these and. But a lot of these pictures are on this, you know, are on these LPs, but.
Well, there seems to be a common denominator with most of these photos, and it's poverty.
Yeah.
Is that a inspiration for that creativity, or, I mean, I'm trying to grasp how they became so noble.
I think people have time on their hands. I think music was a way to avoid being in the fields. I think there was a tradition of music in these rural African American communities. There was a tradition of music, and blues was a way of communicating. And I think this was just a very natural outgrowth of that, I think. And I don't know if those circumstances still exist. I kind of think they don't. Or the music people want is rap, or, you know, this style of music is just not popular or not that common. You know, a lot of the juke joints I would go in were like discos. And I was kind of had this mindset of I wanted places that looked like where blues music came from. So.
What year were some of these pictures taken?
Most of them were around 1980. I mean, it varies, but late 70s, early 80s now. This one's 96. He continued to come over. He continued to come over and visit people that he knew and photograph well into, you know, the 2000s. So.
I went to Delta States, and I guess I didn't know of any juke joints up in this area, but going there, and my friends, like Saturday, I did go to a couple of juke joints, but there were no musicians there.
There were not.
DJ.
Same with me when I was photographing. Very rarely would there be live music, DJs or jukeboxes, or we gotta pass it. Just I guess get those to other tables. I think there were two types of juke joints. There were some in town, and a lot of those were just hangouts. You know, they were open during the day. People would come in, shoot pool, drink beer, talk about, and there'd be these beside the road or next to the cotton field were more nighttime, more raucous affairs. And, but I don't know if any of that exists now.
Well, I did see on Mississippi Public Broadcast,
Uh-huh.
with, I think these were some members of Mick Jagger's band.
Right.
Were visiting some of the blues artists
Yeah.
in Mississippi.
Oh,
Clarksdale and,
Yeah, all the British, the British guys just, they loved, these were their gods. And they loved blues music and recorded a lot. I mean, Led Zeppelin recorded, blues songs. The Rolling Stones recorded blues songs with blues lyrics. So it was a big deal in England.
So where would you go photograph today? What would you photograph? If you were going
I don't
back to
know,
your
that's why I'm
20s
not.
or 30s.
I don't know. I don't know.
What's the Hill Country Blues? Is there just still a good bit of authenticity there?
I guess, I don't know, is that still is Junior Kimbrough still?
That club has been torn down.
Yeah.
It was on Highway 4 between Holly Springs and Saratoga.
Yeah.
It was at Luxahoma, the Luxahoma
Yeah.
community. And on Sunday evening, Sunday night, you just couldn't hardly get through there.
Yeah. There's a guy named Other Turner who may be in here. That may be him over there. I know he did that fife and drum picnic for a long time.
Yeah, the
His
goats.
granddaughter is still
I
doing
think
it.
his descendants are still doing it. So that's going on. A lot of people go to Clarksdale's quite a blues mecca. I mean, a lot of people go there, and there's the Shack Up Inn, and there's a place called Red's Place. It's kind of an authentic juke joint, and there's a little bit of hokiness in some of it, but a lot of people are going to Clarksdale to kind of.
They have a little blues museum, but they need Jill to go there.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Got a lot of artifacts in it, just not, but it's still a neat place to visit.
Yeah, Clarksdale's a neat place, but it's a lot of everybody. There's the word juke joint is almost in every business window, some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Clarksdale has just sort of right out near Delta State.
Say, I'm sorry.
It was.
I think Delta State, Cleveland.
Yeah.
Near Delta State, just like almost near the entrance of a museum.
The Grammy.
The Grammys.
There's the
wonderful,
Grammy
yeah.
Museum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Oh, it is.
And then there's the B.B. King Museum.
And it is
that
fabulous.
you visit.
Gosh, yes, that is so good.
Yeah.
We were just amazed. Oh,
Seeing this one over your right shoulder here, I know they asked one of the guys, how did you get the tone that you have? And he said, I smoked a lot of cigarettes.
Yeah, I imagine that would give you
Big Joe had a cigarette.
a kind of a gravelly voice, yeah.
this guy's got one.
Yeah.
Got one over there.
Yeah.
Smoked a lot of cigarettes.
A minute ago, I've said, I was talking about Axel's recall, and it's really amazing. And the Ogden Museum, I had an exhibit down at the Ogden Museum a few years ago, and they had a panel, going to talk about my work. And so I asked if Axel could be on the panel, and it was me, I don't remember who else, but Bill Dunlap was on it. And if y'all know Bill, he's never at a loss for words, and he's, and Axel was the star of the show. He just knew more, he was more expressive. It was just amazing to see him in action. And we did a talk at the West Point Blues Museum on the opening of this and Axel and me and Scott Beretta, and Scott does Highway 61, the blues show. And Scott nor me got a word in edgewise. Axel did all the talking, and he was entertaining and interesting. So, it's just how he is, but most of the time he's this recluse in a small village in Germany.
If you have an opportunity to see the Brenda Lee special on PBS that they had, it's probably on YouTube now.
Uh-huh.
But she started out as rockabilly, and she started out as a little kid. She learned how to, she could make money by just standing on a table and
Yeah.
singing at lunchtime. And so, but she said at that period of time, the owners or the ones that were helping,
Yeah.
managers, they wanted you to succeed. They wanted you to do your own thing and be
Right.
successful. And I think it's kind of different. She said it's kind of different now.
Oh, I'm
That
sure it
it's
is.
not- it's about the
But I
money.
mean, I think that's what fueled blues and country. The same thing that fueled this. It provided a way out. It was a natural expression. It was a way somebody was artistically inclined. Music was way. And so I don't think these guys are much different than the country, the country music or the bluegrass guys that came out of the mountains of West Virginia or, Kentucky.
It's just a shame this is no more.
Yeah. But it's wonderful that there's this record
What was your major, you say?
history.
History.
Yeah.
So does he sell these photographs, these prints?
He does. He still does things. In Germany, he gets invited to do a lot of, occasionally gets invited to do a talk. He loves to play his old 78 records. Sometimes he does exhibits, and they sell prints from the exhibits.
I wonder what the ultimate resting place for these images is going to be.
I don't
Like
know.
the African American.
Well, these
Museum.
he's given these to the West Point
Yeah.
Museum, but his total
That's their permanent.
body of work, I don't know that he's got that figured out.
Well, they're just so important.
Yeah, yeah, I think so,
They tell a story.
yeah. I mean, these records are wonderful, these LPs are wonderful, and you can find some YouTube of that, of some of those. He did Eleanor Blues, Eleanor Records or Eleanor Blues.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.